Hey, John Velie, CEO of OnlineVisas, here with another episode of Immigration Solutions during the coronavirus. I'm trying to get my microphone out of the way here. Hey, hope my friends are doing well today. I'm here. Today's episode is sponsored by Tai. Like I said in earlier episodes, I like to frequent every day a local restaurant. Tai is owned by our good friend Coy Strickland and her husband Clint. Excellent food in Norman, Oklahoma. Very, very fresh. So Tai, I invented the phrase Tai Tuesday with my good friend Mike Hosty, but it has been stolen by Scooter Proctor, who claims he invented it. I think we'll have to have a lawsuit about that maybe. I see Steve Davies is out there and John Sheaf. Good to see you guys. We're going to talk about the 10 important questions or 10 most important questions about immigration during a coronavirus today. We'll also talk about some trending things like how do I cut my hair and aliens, space versus illegals, which one's the bigger threat. I've done some research on that, and we'll get back to that in a moment. But first, let's go through the 10 most important immigration questions during the coronavirus. So they're broken into parts. So what if I lose my job during the coronavirus? So it's very possible that you'll lose your job during the coronavirus. And there are some grace periods that USCIS has made available. You can go to USCIS.gov and look up special circumstances to see what you can do. There's a couple of things, practical applications you can do about losing your job during the coronavirus. One is filing for a B1, B2 visa while you're in the country. You have a 60-day window, typically when you lose a job for most non-immigrant or work visas. So within that 60 days, you can file a B1, B2, which is an I-539. If you don't know how to do that, you want some help from us, please private message me or go to OnlineVisas.com, ask an appointment. And also, I want to say, we post this on Facebook. This is Facebook Live. We also do LinkedIn, and we also do YouTube. So if you see this on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, the OnlineVisas YouTube channel, and share this information. We hope it's helpful. I'm John Velie with OnlineVisas, and we're talking about the 10 most important questions. So besides losing your job, which could happen, there's other things that might happen. Now, the coronavirus has given USCIS some discretion, some special situations that you can do. So even if you don't make it within the 60 days, you can still ask for help because of the coronavirus. And you want to make sure you have information that supports that, like a letter from your employer. You were fired because of the coronavirus. You were furloughed because of the coronavirus, or your pay was docked because of the coronavirus. Those are the three things that we're going to go through right now. Each of those are some special circumstances that USCIS should respect, but you're going to have to prove it, and they're going to want it on a case-by-case basis. That's exactly what their information says on their website, on USCIS.gov, under that situation. So if you lose your job, you're furloughed, laid off, or your salary is reduced, there can be some special circumstances. Now, on a reduction of wages, if you're on an H-1B visa, which requires a prevailing wage, that's like a minimum wage, and you fall below the prevailing wage, that could be problematic. You might be in violation of the Department of Labor, not just immigration, and they can do that. Now, it's an average over the year, so they could pay you later for that and get that over the year if that's the situation. But these are pretty complex questions. You probably should have an attorney discuss that if that's a problem. We're glad to do that. Go to our website at OnlineVisas.com and schedule a strategy session, or private message me here and we can discuss that. I see Tom Kindly's out there. I had a nice conversation with Tom. He's working with the New England Free Jacks and the Major League Rugby, and we're looking at which would be the best candidates for his team, and that was a lot of fun to catch up with Tom. Good to see you out there, Tom. And Ian Dottel, our head sales guy. It's great to see him here and showing up today for this thing. Okay, so that's question number one with three subcomponents that we answered. Question two of the most important immigration questions during the coronavirus. Are borders closing because of COVID-19? Yes, many countries have closed their borders. Some of the countries, Australia, New Zealand, Spain, Italy, the EU, the European Union, and more. U.S.'s borders are closed with Canada and Mexico right now, and there's bans of entry from some countries in the United States, including China, including Iran, including the European Union under what's called the Schengen area. That's a number of countries that comprise Europe. And then also added to that after the fact was the United Kingdom and Ireland. So people can't come from those countries right now. And even if some people go to those countries, they'll quarantine you for maybe 14 days. So some advice on that. Call your airlines, call your travel agent, see if you're going to have a problem entering because of either the country you're coming from or the country you've been in within some recent time, okay? So that is what's going on right now on that. So there are some countries that are banned, that are closed, and others that won't let you in the United States. Number three question of most important immigration questions during the coronavirus is, what do I do if I entered on an ESTA, that is a visa waiver, and my 90-day period is expiring? Okay, so the answer is, immigration has actually thought through this, and they've come up with a sheet here. This is it. If you need a copy of this, if you're on an ESTA and you don't know how to do it, you can get some special permission to leave. It's called a satisfactory departure, is an extension of admission period and is granted only in limited cases for serious emergencies, such as hospitalization or conditions that cause flights to be delayed or canceled for more than 24 hours. So otherwise, people visiting under the visa waiver may not stay beyond their initial 90 days. Now, in this one, obviously the coronavirus, if you've had the coronavirus, that's a situation. Also, if your country is shut down, like we just talked about, we named some of the countries that are, you can't leave there. But again, call the airline, and there are some special numbers here to do that. I think JFK has one with some deferred inspection offices that you can contact. Let me see a phone number for JFK, and you might start with this and see if it'll take you somewhere else. It's 718-553-3683 or 718-553-3684. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Time is where the JFK in New York is dealing with that. But call your own airport. There's no information on that on this period, but this is the satisfactory departure and travel bans is where I found that one online. So take a look at that. That is the answer to question number 3. Question number 4 of the most important questions for the immigration during the coronavirus is, can I still apply for a visa? I have a visa appointment at a consulate. What should I do? All right, so applying for a visa, so there's a couple of times that these are confused by people. So you can apply for visas inside the United States by filing to USCIS. Another term for visa is when you go to the consulate. So you can get your approval in the United States or even when you're outside the United States, but then you have to go to a U.S. consulate. A U.S. consulate is a U.S. office that's outside of the United States. So people say, well, can I go to a U.S. consulate in the United States? There's no such thing. There are other countries' consulates inside the United States. You can go to a Spanish consulate if you need to deal with Spain, or an embassy if you're a citizen of that country. But the consulates in the United States are closed right now, except for emergency situations. So we know some emergency situations are appointments for visa holders if they're in the medical profession, right? Doctors, nurses, others related to that can get through, and other emergency situations. So then you can take a look at that. Let's see if we got any more people out here. So yeah, I see Wesley Hunter's there, and Coy Strickland. Coy, I have mentioned I have my delicious garlic stir-fried chicken number 4 that I got from your wonderful restaurant, Tai Tai. And this episode is sponsored by Tai Tai and Dr. Pepper. So those folks aren't actually paying for this. This is free advertising for Dr. Pepper. And Thai, and this is the Thai garlic chicken stir fry number 4, my most favorite dish, next to the drunken noodles, which Coy makes for me separate. And I asked Coy, why do they call them drunken noodles? And, I was kind of expecting maybe it had some alcohol, but that's not the case. They call them drunken noodles because that's what people would eat late at night when the bars closed. And they would go by and they would make them this really delicious, savory noodle with gravy and stuff like that. And Coy doesn't have a dish called drunken noodles, and it's called something else, and I never remember it. But she often makes me drunken noodles, and that's my second favorite dish at Thai. And I want to stand for the record right now that I did invent the phrase Thai Tuesday, Coy. You may not remember that, but Mike Hosty and I coined that phrase some time ago, and now Scooter Proctor claims it's his, and he's absolutely incorrect on that. And I think if you had some video, maybe some video, you could look back in Thai, you might see that exists. That's proof there. Mike Hosty and I have a standing, never invited date to eat Thai food at Thai, and we just run into each other, and typically on Tuesdays we do that. And sometimes the Tuesdays aren't Tuesdays, they're Thursdays or some other day, but we often just run into each other, and we have come up with some great conversations and some great ideas. And I'm going to throw one out there of one of the greatest ideas that we ever hatched at Thai Tuesday. And if you steal it from me, please remember I am an attorney, and I'm saying this right now on Facebook Live that will be pushed onto our YouTube channel. So if I hear you've stolen this, then I'm going to sue you and get damages. So here's the idea. So if you're going to take it to market, you're welcome to do that, but you just have to do it with me and Mike. So the idea was the redneck fortune cookie. So what the redneck fortune cookie is, a country witticism. Kind of like, think of the guy that says you might be a redneck if. So it's those sort of country witticisms that we have here in Oklahoma. And instead of a little cookie like that I got today from Coy, it would... So I kind of lost that right there. Let me replace it, restate it. So it is a country witticism like a fortune in a pork rind. That's what we're going to introduce. That's what we invented. It was the redneck fortune cookie. I think we could push these out to barbecue joints and other things. You can make them spicy, and I think all around the southern United States and other places that like barbecue too would be a good thing. And I think it'd go really good with a cold beer or a Dr. Pepper, our sponsor today. But I've digressed. All right, so let's get back to the 10 most important immigration questions during the coronavirus. So I don't know if I finished mine. So consulates are closed. You cannot get a visa appointment. Yes, I did. There are some some exceptions to that rule. All right, so the next one is number 5 of the most important immigration questions during the coronavirus. What if I have an appointment with USCIS, like an interview? Should I go? Are the offices open? No, unfortunately, they're not right now. They have moved the date of opening back a couple of times. The latest date that they're going to open it now is June 4th, I believe. I think June 4th. It was May 3rd, and now it's June 4th. Seems to be the date that they are proposing, and I say proposing because they change these things all the time. But for opening USCIS offices for interviews. So if your interview date has come or is coming up, you should continue to check for updates. They'll probably reschedule you. I don't believe you need to cancel those dates, so don't do that. If you have any questions, though, you can contact us at OnlineVisas.com and schedule an appointment or just private message me here. Again, this will go on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. We have now over 100 videos in our various series, from the coronavirus series we have right now to practicing law in a Hawaiian shirt, to delivering dreams, to just lots of videos about different visas. Some of them we've had over 10,000 views. Others we've had 1 or 2. I see David Hodges is out there, a good friend, Haji. Good to see you, Ed Barber and Mark Hunter. We're talking about immigration solutions during the coronavirus, and today's show is the 10 most important immigration questions during the coronavirus, and we're counting down. So the next one is question number 6. Do my petitions, meaning my visa cases, need original signatures? That was the case, and many times we would use a blue pen instead of a black just in case they got confused. But they've changed the rules that they do not need what they call wet signatures, and you can use copies of that now. At least for right now. I hope they stay with that. The original signatures made things a lot more difficult. We used to use powers of attorney where we would get an original signature with a power of attorney and then we could just sign and send it in. But that's no longer been the rule, but they're now allowing copies of the signature, and that's the thing. Question number 7 of the 10 most important immigration questions during the coronavirus. Is premium processing available for my petitions? Premium processing is a 15-day mandated time frame that immigration will process your visas. And for a lot of visas, right, it differs, and you can see what it is, but you never get anything back before about 3 or 4 months, and many times it's 6 or longer on some visas. So premium processing is very important to get people in here, and no, it is now shut down and does not exist, and then we're hoping that will reopen soon. So we're now on to, that was question 7. Question 8 of the most important immigration questions during the coronavirus. What if I'm in the United States and my visa's about to expire? What can I do? Well, the first most important thing, this happens to us all the time, ladies and gentlemen, that someone looks on their visa that's scanned into their passport, right? We talked about that. That's what the consulate does. They take the approval from USCIS, and then if you had it approved in the United States, they'll give you an extension in an I-94, and that date rules. But if you go out of the United States, then you have to go to the consulate, get it scanned in. People call it stamped. And then that'll have another date on it. And when you enter the United States through Border and Protection Services at the airport or crossing through, walking through or driving through if you're coming from Canada or Mexico, they will then give you another I-94. They'll give you a I-94 entry fee. And they used to give you a piece of paper, and now they don't. It just goes in there. And you can check I-94.com and find out that date. But that is the last thing they do, and that's the date that rules, right? So your visa may say that you expire on, April 30th, 2020, today. But then your I-94, they gave you another 2 weeks or a month or whatever. So that's what you need to know. And if you have that, then again, we talked about there's some things you can do to go to a visitor's visa if you've lost your job, extend your visa. If you file your visa application 1 day prior to expiration, meaning that they receive it on the day it expires, then they will, you go into a pending status until your visa is either decided, meaning approved or denied, or 240 days, whichever comes first. So first check to see if your I-94 is about to expire also. If it is, then that's what you do. You can go to these other visas, and then there's some flexibility about filing late right now under special circumstances that USCIS has, and you have to prove that it's because of the coronavirus. Now, that shouldn't be really tough today, but remember, this is going to go on for a while. They'll be deciding this down the road, and while people are probably really nice about it and coming together, I guess, maybe they won't be down the road. So prove it. Everything is going to be done on a case-by-case basis. And it has to be tied to the coronavirus. We had a conversation with an engineer that was laid off or I guess fired from her job yesterday, and she said she had a letter from her employer, and she assumed that that it said it was because of the coronavirus, and it didn't. It just said because of economic hardships they laid her off, which, immigration's tough. I mean, they'll play gotcha with you. They do it all the time. So I asked her to go back to her employer and get them to say that the reason that they terminated her employment was because of the economic downturns caused by the coronavirus, right? So that's an important thing to happen. Okay, that's number 9. And our 10th most important immigration question during coronavirus is, does the President's Proclamation mean I can't file my visa application? We get this question a lot. Really important question. If you're either an employer, even an employer. Ed Barber asked that by publicly stating your ID on Facebook, aren't you giving your intellectual property to Mark Zuckerberg? Absolutely no, Ed Barber. I'm an attorney. And even though I practice in a Hawaiian shirt from time to time, I'll go up against the biggest and the baddest. It took me 17 years to win a lawsuit on behalf of the Cherokee freedmen, going up against the Cherokee Nation and the United States government and some of the biggest and baddest law firms. Do you think I'm afraid of Mark Zuckerberg taking my intellectual property? This is my intellectual property. I am just putting it on his platform. It does not belong to him. And I'm saying it right now, Mark Zuckerberg. Don't you take my 10 most important questions during the coronavirus and steal it and make your own. This is, you let me use this platform. I did not give you this intellectual property. There is no inferred situation here. Thank you, Ed Barber, for allowing me to stand up for myself. That Zuckerberg, he'll do that. I mean, we saw him on the movie steal the entire idea for Facebook from those two twins that rode crew at Harvard. I mean, do you think he's going to, care about little old me and my 10 most important immigration questions during the coronavirus? Oh, he's probably stealing it already. But you know what? I'm not going to take that, Mark Zuckerberg. Mark my words. Now, but the 10th and probably most important question for immigration during the coronavirus is whether or not the President's Proclamation, and I have it right here. It is on the White House under proclamations, and you can download this at www.whitehouse.gov, presidential actions, proclamation suspending entry immigrants, president risk U.S. labor market economic recovery, blah, blah, blah. But if you get that far, you can do it. But, the presidential proclamation is probably will get you there, but its title is Suspending Entry of U.S. Immigrants Who Present Risk to U.S. Labor Market During the Economic Recovery Following COVID-19 Outbreak. Well, I'm not going to get into politics of whether or not letting some people get green cards will save you from the coronavirus, but I will tell you what it says and who it impacts, because a lot of people think it impacts them and it might not, right? So who does it impact? Well, we can go right to the language in here that under Section 2, Scope and Suspension of Limitation of Entry, says that the suspension and limitation on entry pursuant to Section 1 of its proclamation shall apply only to aliens who, now aliens, we're going to get into this in a second. Aliens are people not born in the United States that are not U.S. citizens. Right? I guess you could be not born in the United States and be a U.S. citizen. That's what I do for a living. I help people do that. But so if you are an alien, right, that means not from the United States of America. And we'll talk about the difference between planet Earth aliens and other space aliens. We're going to get into that a little bit in a minute. But if you're an alien, and I guess this would also apply to the space aliens, if you're outside the United States on the effective date of the proclamation, that means now, or anytime after this, and for 60 days total. 2, do not have an immigrant visa. That's a green card that is valid today. Now, if your card has expired, your green card hasn't expired. It's still valid. Just the card itself can expire. They only last for 10 days, and that's an interesting fact that a lot of people lose. And you don't have an official travel document other than a visa, such as a transportation letter, advance parole, those sorts of things that's valid. And that doesn't. I'm sorry. That can't work. And then the what else we got here? However, it doesn't apply, right? So basically, if you're outside the United States, you're an alien, and you don't have the special ability to get back in. Okay, you can't. This applies to you. Okay, so who doesn't it apply to? So any aliens, I hate that word, by the way. How about foreign nationals? Any foreign nationals that seek to enter the United States on an immigrant visa as a physician, nurse, or other healthcare professional to perform medical research and other research intended to combat the spread of the COVID-19, they can get in, right? So now that just says for an immigrant visa. Will it work for a non-immigrant visa? We think it might, but this just says immigrant visa. And if you're an alien or a foreign national, as I prefer, that want to apply for the EB-5 green card outside the United States, you can do that. A spouse of a U.S. citizen, you can do that too. Children under 21 of U.S. citizens applying for a green card can do it. Then there are members of armed forces and their spouse and kids, and then any alien who would further the important U.S. law enforcement objectives. So really, I guess if you need to testify in a trial or something, and then any alien, aka foreign national, whose entry would be in the national interest as determined by the Secretary of State, Homeland Security, or their designees. Okay, so those are the exceptions. So the other question is, what can I get or what can't I get? Let's start there first. What can't I do under this proclamation? Well, what it means is if you're applying for certain work-related green cards outside of the United States, you can't do it for 60 days. So that's the EB1, EB2, EB3, EB4. Okay, so extraordinary ability, multinational executive, outstanding researcher, those are the EB1. The perm or labor cert for the EB2, not counting the national interest waiver. If it's a natural interest waiver EB2, you can still file that. But for the standard EB2, that's advanced degree professional or those with 5 years experience in a specialization, you can't do that for 60 days. The regular labor certification green card, which can be unskilled or skilled. And then the EB4, there are some special circumstances, EB4, that you can get through. Not exactly what that is, but I think you'd have to present it. And then the EB5 you can. That's the investor visa where you invest either $900,000 or $1.8 million and create 10 jobs for Americans. You can still do those. Now, you can do all of those if you're in the United States, right? So if you're under another visa right now and you want to file a green card in the United States, you can do it. And it's a fantastic time to do that because they've really sped up the priority dates. Those are the deadlines that were a couple of years off for most of the world just last Thursday. And then on Friday, they updated it and they're all current. So there's the one beneficial thing I've seen in immigration is the speeding up of the ability to do green cards. So if you've labored through this conversation, the takeaway, good time to do green cards in the United States. Remember that. Okay, so who else cannot get a visa? That would be, it exempted spouses of U.S. citizens, but not spouses of green card holders. So a spouse of a green card holder is going to have to wait 60 days to file their visa. And I guess, parents of green card holders are going to have to wait 60 days as well for theirs. And then any of the other longer relationships with U.S. citizens under family-based are going to have to wait. So right there's your answers to the 10 most important immigration questions during the coronavirus. So we've ended that part of the program, and we're going to go on to some more important or different topics because, we talk about immigration, we talk about the coronavirus, but, we also want to talk about things that are trending in society right now. This is being marked right now. I mean, Zuckerberg may be stealing this, as Ed Barber mentioned, but it's also some days it's kind of like a time capsule, right? So if you ever go back and look at this with the tens of people that show up, then we're going to see what was happening back in April of 2020 during the pandemic. So I want to talk about some things that are trending. One of the most trending things out there is, how do I cut my own hair? A question I've been asking myself because I'm getting pretty bushy right here. My wife has promised to cut my hair. She says she can, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know why I just haven't done it. But Melissa Bennett, my hairstylist extraordinaire, we had an appointment for May 1st, and our city has extended that out to the 15th. And maybe just keep going, right? Let's see how big the bush will go, and just see what happens. So, but trending on the internet is, how do I cut my hair? Now, I want to dig into something that I touched on yesterday, and that's that the Pentagon, across all major media, has confirmed the sighting of UFOs. UFOs, unidentified flying objects. And they had some comments on the article I read about a Navy pilot that saw, a flying, object that they didn't know what it was, that was bouncing around like a pinball. Now, there's always been discussion about the possibility of UFOs. We've seen Close Encounters. We've seen lots of different shows about space. And the possibility that we weren't alone in the universe. But if the government says that there's UFOs, then that also means there's aliens, because who would fly the UFOs other than aliens, right? I mean, people in the world can't fly UFOs, right? UFOs are spaceships, right? So the good thing is, I really questioned why we were going to have a Space Force. But now all of a sudden it's crystal clear. Who else would save us from the aliens except for Space Force? So I actually went because I was questioning the issue. Because the big question here, space aliens versus illegal aliens, which are the bigger risk, right? So our government today has stated unemphatically that illegal aliens, right, as they called them in the White House thing here, are the threat. I mean, they're bringing the coronavirus, committing crimes, doing all these horrible things. We've closed down borders around the world because of the illegal aliens, planet Earth aliens coming into our country and getting us sick and taking our jobs and committing all sorts of horrible crimes. And so, we've taken that on. But, now with the Pentagon saying there's space aliens, what are we going to do about it? So, I went to check it out. I went to check out the website for Space Force. And see what these guys were going to do about it, right? So I went to Space Force, and you can see it at www.spaceforce.mil. There's some information on it. So the mission of the United States Space Force is a military service that organizes, trains, and equips space forces in order to protect U.S. and allied interests in space and to provide space capabilities to the joint force. So that's U.S. and allied interests. So I guess Russia is still a foreign threat. We're not protecting Russia. China, which we can tell from all the language coming out of our government right now, they're the enemy. I mean, they're the ones sending aliens over here, Chinese aliens, to infect us with the Chinese coronavirus. So we're not gonna protect them. So it's not a global Space Force. It's just the United States and their allies. But we have one, right? And this is new. So we didn't have one that long ago. Which were within a year. So I went there to see, okay, what are they going to do since the government is talking about UFOs, therefore there's aliens. What are we going to do? So the first thing I looked around is, was there any reference to, UFOs, fighting space aliens? Maybe the names of some of these space aliens. Would be cool to find out which countries, which planets maybe flying these UFOs. But there's nothing on it. But I went to want ads thinking, okay, if I'm the Space Force right now, I'd be hiring people that could fight aliens and that could operate ships or aircraft to shoot down spaceships. That would be number one thing I would do if I was in charge of the U.S. Space Force. So I looked around on their want ads, and these are the subjects of the want ads. So there is all careers, and I checked that. That wasn't very helpful. Aircraft and flight. I looked at aircraft and flight, and let me see what I found there. Let's see. Under the career browser, there's a cyberspace operations officer. That's the only one that even references space whatsoever. No other space reference jobs in the United States Space Force right now. You got cyber systems operations, cybersecurity, cyber transport systems, air battle manager. I guess that'd be in charge of the battles against the aliens. But that's close. But that's just the manager. That guy could sit down on the ground talking a microphone to the guys out there. So I was looking for UFO fighters, and I didn't see any. So I kept looking around to see some other jobs, and there just really aren't any. There was some about which one I saw. This one I thought might get us there. It was no, not arts and humanity. That's not it. Dentistry, no. Health and medicine, no. Needed. Mental health, yeah, that, I mean, if you saw an alien, you'd really want to go to the mental health guys to talk about that. Nursing, that's important. Natural science, yeah. Physicians and surgeons. I see it. Special warfare. I wonder if special warfare, it didn't mention any jobs about fighting UFOs. Weaponry and materials, yeah. I mean, but again, there weren't any weapons designed for shooting down UFOs. So, I mean, look, I'm going to call it right now. I don't think we were prepared for the coronavirus, even though we knew about it. And right now, the Pentagon has put out conclusive evidence that there are UFOs, yet our Space Force is not even trying to hire anybody. Not one job opening for fighting UFOs, and I don't know. You might want to share this right now. This is important because I don't think there's a lot of people talking about it. Is that right, Martha Walcott? I don't think you're talking about how are we going to shoot down the space aliens, or Mike Barrell or Venkat. I mean, look, maybe you are. I'd like to open that dialogue. I'd like to get that conversation moving. It's important. I think our government is putting way too much effort about stopping our own planet's aliens, and they're not putting any emphasis whatsoever now that we have conclusive proof that there are space aliens, according to the Pentagon. And I'm just saying right now, whoever's in charge of the U.S. Space Force, get some want ads out there. I bet there's some people. We have, 26 million people out of jobs right now because of the coronavirus. I think it's time to train up some of those folks to go fight some of those aliens. You could get Will Smith. He's fought them. There's all sorts of guys. If you just go see a few movies that have some knowledge and some expertise here, let's bring them back there. Harrison Ford, I mean, he's a little old in the tooth, but he could fly the Millennium Falcon like nobody's business. And, he shot lots of those guys. Any of the Star Trek characters, they could do it. James Kirk would still be a great captain. Yeah, he's in his 80s. I saw him in Chicago a couple of years ago, and he looked good. I mean, I think he was 83, but he looked good. I mean, space is a totally different time thing anyway. Are you really 83 if you're in space? Or maybe you just get frozen there. But I would talk to him. He has a lot of experience in this, and that would be really helpful. Han Solo, he just did his own solo thing, and hell of a flyer. So there's a lot of people that we could involve in this and train in this. So just think about it. But I don't want us going through another disaster like this just because we weren't ready. And it's right there. I mean, UFOs confirmed by the government. Space Force is set up, ready to deal with it, but looks like they're asleep at the wheel. Wake up, Space Force. We need you. This is John Velie. Subscribe and like our YouTube channel. Share it. We'd appreciate it. Love you guys. Have a wonderful day. Kirk Hills, good to see you out there. Rock and roll, my brother. Take care.